In the early 20th century, Libya became the site of one of the harshest colonial experiments in Africa. Not just occupation, but settlement. Not just control, but replacement. Entire communities were forced into camps, families were marched across deserts, and a land that had belonged to its people for centuries was reshaped by foreign rule. This is the story of Italian settler colonialism in Libya, and the human cost behind it. Before Italian invasion, Libya was a region shaped by trade routes, tribal networks, and Islamic scholarship. Its cities connected North Africa to the Mediterranean world, while inland communities lived from farming, pastoralism, and desert commerce. Though under Ottoman influence, many local leaders governed their regions with relative autonomy. Life was not free from hardship, but communities controlled their land and movement. By the late 1800s, European powers were racing to expand colonial territories. France dominated North and West Africa. Britain controlled Egypt and key trade routes. Italy, newly unified and eager to prove itself as a European power, sought its own African colony. Libya, close to Italy, fertile along the coast, and strategically placed, became the target. In 1911, Italy launched a military invasion of Libya, declaring war on the Ottoman Empire. Italian forces quickly captured coastal cities, but controlling the land proved far more difficult. Libyan resistance fighters, many organized through local tribes and religious networks, refused to accept war. What Italy expected to be a short campaign turned into a prolonged struggle. For years, resistance movements fought across deserts and mountains. Italian authorities realized that military occupation strategies could not secure Libya. They wanted something deeper, not just a colony, but a settler colony. The goal was to bring Italian families to Libya, seize fertile land, and permanently transform the region into an extension. Settler colonialism required land, and land required removing those who already lived there. Italian authorities began confiscating farmland, especially along Libya's fertile coastal belt. Plans were drawn to establish agricultural settlements for Italian farmers. Roads, railways, and ports were developed primarily to support colonial expansion and settlement logistics. But resistance continued, especially in eastern Libya, where local fighters used their knowledge of terrain to challenge Italian forces. To break this resistance, colonial officials introduced extreme policies that would permanently scar Libyan society. In the late 1920s, Italian authorities implemented a sweeping strategy: mass relocation into concentration camps. Entire communities were rounded up, families were separated from their homes, farms, and livestock. Thousands were transported into fence camps surrounded by barbed wire and guarded by soldiers. Conditions inside were harsh. Overcrowding spread disease. Food supplies were limited. Medical care was minimal. Hunger and illness became constant companions. The camps were not only about punishment, they were about control. By removing civilians from rural areas, resistance fighters lost access to shelter, food, and support networks. The strategy weakened organized resistance but came at a devastating human cost. Beyond the camps themselves, forced relocations across the desert became one of the most brutal aspects of colonial policy. Communities were marched for days under extreme heat. Water was scarce. The elderly struggled to keep pace. Children collapsed from exhaustion. Many did not survive the journey. Those who reached the camps arrived already weakened, making survival even more difficult. Meanwhile, the lands they left behind were cleared for colonial use or settlement projects. This systematic relocation reshaped Libya's demographic and economic landscape, ensuring that colonial authority could expand with less resistance. The effects of these policies extended far beyond the colonial years. Communities lost land ownership traditions built over generations. Agricultural patterns shifted. Population movements altered local economies and settlement patterns. Memories of the camps and relocations became part of Libya's national identity and historical consciousness. They stand today as reminders of how colonial power was exercised not only through battles, but through displacement, confinement, and control of daily life. The story of Italian colonial rule in Libya is not just about politics or territory. It is about people, their homes, their movement, and their survival. Understanding this history helps us see how colonial systems reshape societies across Africa in lasting ways. If you want more deep African history documentaries like this, subscribe, like, and share this video. This is a siren bead, uncovering Africa's untold history.